people. I'm Dax.
And I'm Em.
And this is Full His House,
your Full House fancast.
Today, we are covering Season 1, Episode 21, Mad Money. Joey's mother gives him an old savings bond. He tries to pay Danny back for an 11-year-old loan, but Danny refuses. Meanwhile, Jesse has a gig as an Elvis impersonator. Initial opening thoughts?
Okay, so almost immediately, the first thing I thought was this episode should have come sooner than this. It felt like it was something that was meant to happen like shortly after everybody moved in and not necessarily at this point. But we'll go into that more as we kind of break down the scenes.
Yeah, I like this episode. I just think it's a lot of fun. Obviously, I just love watching Jesse perform, but I do like seeing Danny and Joey interact. And I do think that there's something to, maybe there could be something to it coming a little bit later because we haven't really seen them interact too much, but we see them actually bicker a little bit in this. So maybe some things have been boiling. We'll kind of see how we feel. But we start out in the living room and Stephanie is practicing for show and tell. She presents Michelle Tanner. DJ asks if Michelle has a really cool big older sister and Steph says, yes, me. Just then, Jesse rolls in with a duffel bag. Danny says that Jesse has been sneaking in and out with a bag every night for about 5 nights or for 4 nights, and everyone wants to know what's in the bag and where he's going. Jesse avoids the question while Joey walks in a very positive mood, saying he loves everybody. He says that his mother found a savings bond and he now has $5,000, which is a ton of money, especially back in, well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a ton of money now, but I mean, if I found $5,000, I would be very happy and I would be able to do a couple of life-changing things.
No kidding.
But in the late 80s, stacked.
Nah. I completely get it. I mean, like $5,000 at any point, then I know it was a lot more, but now I feel like just with how expensive everything is, I would take $5,000 extra in my pocket. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have to worry about rent for maybe 2 months or so.
Maybe. Just depends on if anything else surprising pops up.
Yeah, but I would be able to rejig a few things. So yeah, I'm super happy for Joey in this moment. And he announces that he's giving everyone presents, which I think is a super nice thing to do with that money. Michelle gets a tiny toy lawnmower. DJ gets tickets to Springsteen, and Jesse sees that they're actually really great tickets and wants in. But DJ says, sure, what's in the bag? And gets a nice try. Joey gets Stephanie a new bike and she shrieks with happiness and starts riding the bike in the house as Danny says, Joey, you really shouldn't have. Which I guess that does count as a big gift. I know that some parents feel a certain way about certain gifts being given to their kids. But I don't know. I kind of feel like a bike is relatively harmless.
I mean, okay, so I feel like probably back then bikes weren't nearly as expensive as they are now. I know that you can go into a Walmart or a Target. Yeah, most Targets still have them. Like you'll have that bike rack over there, but most of the bikes are like 100, 120, 130, and then upwards from there depending. I wouldn't expect a bike to be necessarily super expensive then. My first thought immediately was just okay, she didn't win that honey selling competition because she didn't get the bike. Otherwise, they wouldn't be getting her a new bike. Yeah,
my mind went there too. So she finally got her new bike. So I thought that was kind of nice. So Joey says that he also has presents for Danny and Jesse. And Danny and Jesse theorize what they might be getting. Jesse says that he hopes for a new motorcycle. And Danny says that he knows exactly what he's getting. $800 in cash because 11 years ago, he lent Joey that amount to fix his car, and Joey has never had the money to pay him back until now.
Okay. I'm going to just... that is probably... with that is the, how do I say this? No, that is the blackest thing I've ever heard Danny say. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like, okay, so I, like, obviously I grew up with a lot of black relatives, right? And all of them were, they were always very aware of who owed the money, when it was from, where it was from, and if they decided that they were going to charge any interest, for how long they had to wait for it. And they are always aware of when the person who owes them money gets some money.
Yeah. No, you know what? Yeah.
It's just like it like me, at least, like for me personally, 11 years is a very long time to hold on to a personal debt. Even the credit companies can only hold on to it for 7 years, so that's crazy. The fact that he still remembered exactly when it happened and why is even crazier. And this whole episode was just so funny to me, because it's 11, like, me personally, I don't give out any money or loan any money I'm not prepared to lose, ultimately, because there's always a chance that something might come up and that person is just not going to be able to pay you back for one reason or the other, or they just don't pay you back because that's just who they are, and this is a lesson learned. That's just how that works. If I give out money, if I loan anything, I am prepared to never see it again. But Danny's like, 11 years later, I've been peeping out what Joey's been intaking, and he don't make very much, so I haven't asked for it, but he just got a whopping $5,000. So now, officially, for the first time, he has all of the money needed to pay me back after 11 years. I know he's going to remember an 11-year debt. And he's going to pay me back in cold hard cash. It's the funniest thing I've ever. It was like very unlike Danny, but very like Danny. It's just a side of Danny we haven't seen before. You don't want to owe Danny money at any point. He's never going to forget. He'll be at your house in 12 years saying, hey, you just won the lottery. You remember that money you owe me from like 13 years ago? Yeah, you're going to have to give that back.
I agree. It seems like a very Danny thing, but Danny, I will say, sometimes every once in a while, isn't necessarily naive, but it's just like, what world are you living in? But it makes sense. He's the head of this household, which we've all agreed is a little bit delusional on the inside.
Yes.
So I kind of love Danny for this. And
yes,
I really don't think that it was like, he obviously doesn't need the money, but it's a huge respect thing for him. You know,
for him, it really is about the principle of the fact that for the first time, you actually do have all of it. It's just, I think in that moment, he also forgot who his friend was and didn't realize that maybe everybody around him isn't keeping tallies of money that was loaned to them over a decade ago.
Correct. And with that, he does say that he doesn't even want the money and is just going to give it right back to him, right back to Joey, because he's going to be so touched at the gesture. And Jesse says that is the most touching, stupid thing he's ever heard. And
I mean, coming from the man who thought that that Joey would be able to buy him a bike for whatever money he has left after buying all those gifts.
I do think that it was a joke, even from like Jesse's perspective. But I mean, yeah, I could definitely see, like, if someone said this to me, I would be like, 11 years ago, bro. Okay, no. So
yeah, at that point, I don't know. I feel like because it's Danny and because it's in Full House, it's like it can be like a funny thing. But I feel like realistically in real life, right? If I had a come up at one point, if I had gotten a check out of nowhere for 5-10 grand, and then I had a friend who I've been friends with for 25 years or whatever the hell. We've been friends for a while, and then they come to me like, hey, you remember like 11 years ago when I lent you money because you were getting kicked out of your apartment? Yeah, you have the money to pay me back now, so you should pay me back. I'd be like, wait, what? Like, honestly, I'd be like, okay, it's been 11 years and I get to come up now, and the first thing you say is, you owe me money, so pay that back.
Right. And, the other thing too is I feel like after 1 year, I'll give up that I'll ever see that money again. But I also, depending on how close I am to that person, I'll bring it up. And well, Danny didn't bring it up because he never had the money. It's a thing, and it drives us all the way throughout this episode.
Yeah.
So we then see DJ in the living room pacing around the bag. She just can't help herself. She wants to know what's in this bag. And she somehow thinks that luring Michelle with an Oreo into the bag will relieve her of responsibility. It's a cute little scene just to kind of see DJ and Michelle interact together, I think was kind of more of the benefit of the scene, but it was really ridiculous.
Okay, I understand what she was thinking, but how can you take away the responsibility when you're also still standing over the body? You get me?
Right.
Like you can't do that and then just like also be in the room while it's happening. You have to, coerce her to go in and open it and then like walk away and then come in with everybody else shocked and awe as she's playing in the bag. And it's, you have to be more smooth about it. It's the fact that she was literally still standing there while she was in the bag. Obviously you're a part of it, but I understand where she was coming from. It wasn't a horrible idea, just not fantastically executed.
I agree.
And as someone who's also nosy, I can understand going to the extent. Sometimes my nosiness gets ahead of me too.
Michelle gets the cookie, but Jesse and Danny walk in, and Jesse says, "Shame on you, Michelle. You don't want to be a nosy busybody, do you?" Obviously, she just is very proud of herself for retrieving the cookie. Just then, Joey walks in and gives the boys their gifts. Jesse gets a lifetime pass to the Great American Amusement Park, and Danny gets the same and is very disappointed. He's immediately, you could just tell that he is very disappointed with what he's seen. Yeah.
He was already expecting to get $800 cold hard cash. He wasn't expecting to get, like realistically as well. Like realistically, knowing Danny, does he look like an amusement park guy? And does he look like a single man amusement park person? Like you gave him one pass and he has to pay for all the kids, or he just has to go by himself because the only person who gets in for free is him.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that I will say that a lifetime pass to an amusement park is a really cool gift. But the only person
for the right person,
that he would be,
but not Danny.
Yeah.
Danny's just,
if he had given him 5 for the whole family, then maybe.
You know what? Not even then, because look, I get the idea behind it, but I think the biggest thing is just the fact that it seemed like what Jesse and Danny got is kind of something they might like, but I also feel like Danny doesn't seem like the type to do amusement parks. And this whole episode just kind of proves that. Like throughout this episode, we see that Danny is the adult between the two friends. Like he is the one who's wholeheartedly, grown up. He's mature. He's, the childish bits inside of him aren't completely there the way that they were beforehand. They still exist. They just exist in different ways. So he's not really the amusement park going type of person. Just like Jesse isn't the type to like go to, the music show thing that he got him. He might go once, but like a lifetime thing. Jesse's more interested in making his own music and not listening to other people's.
Right.
So it felt like I understand what the gifts were meant for, but it also, just as someone who loves gift giving and always puts like a lot of thought into the gifts that are given, it felt like there wasn't a hell of a lot of thought given to the adult gifts as much as there was to some of the kids. Like Michelle's was kind of just like, oh, she's a kid, let me get her a toy. I get that. She's going to play with that thing for a while and then eventually she'll outgrow it, but she'll probably still play with it for a while. What she got for Stephanie, obviously something she loved. DJ, obviously something she was going to love. Even Jesse was ready to steal those tickets off of her realistically. And then he gets his and it's just, it is what it is. And then, Danny is the exact same thing, but neither gift was really geared towards them specifically. It was just kind of like a very generic gift, is what it felt like. It's like
Yeah, I will.
yeah,
I'll agree
you
with
get me?
that. They didn't really
Yeah.
match the individuals.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that was a weird choice. I would be happy with it if it was like, well, not necessarily, but
Right? Because it's like, look, even with like me and you who do love like amusement parks and whatnot, right? Like we love them, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna go on a consistent basis enough to like justify a lifetime pass.
yeah, I think the only like there are some individuals who would like to go to a very specific land, and if you had given them a lifetime pass to that, they would be absolutely ecstatic, but something like that would
Yeah,
probably literally cost billions. I'm not exaggerating. But yeah, no, amusement it was a weird choice for Joey.
very.
Joey says that he got himself a pinball machine, a classic one that cost $1,200. Danny says that this is why he's always broke. Every time he has a nickel, he blows it. And Joey says to lighten up. Danny asks if he considered doing anything with his money, like saving or paying off old debts. And Joey says he doesn't have any debt. Who would be stupid enough to lend him money? And Danny says, me, and announces the exact date in 1977 when his car blew up again. And Danny loaned him his last $800. Joey says that he completely forgot and asks why he waited 11 years to tell him. And Danny says that he was going to give it 2 more years.
Which is crazy. So you're saying you wait 13 years before you bring up a debt? That's such a long time. What if you don't even talk to that person anymore? Or do you just continue that friendship until the 13 years is up so you can ask for your money back? Like, I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, no. It's a weird choice for Danny as well. Joey gives him the rest of the money, and the two go back and forth because Danny doesn't actually want the money. He wants him to invest it or do something with it, and Joey says he is. He's investing in getting Danny off of his back. We then see in the next scene that in Jesse's room, he's all dressed up like Elvis, and the crowd loves it. The girls are knocking on his door, and he tries to put on a robe to cover up. The girls come in and notice that he's in the robe, but standing all weird. And Danny also walks in and notices that he's standing all weird, and they're all wondering what he's hiding. And Jesse says, Daniel, you are entitled to know a lot of things in my life, but what a man has under his robe is his own business.
I mean, fair.
100%. Just then, we start seeing the suit pop out of the robe and the whole suit is revealed. And DJ says it's cool. And Jesse admits that for some extra cash, he's been impersonating Elvis. And Stephanie asks why he didn't tell anyone. And Jesse said that he always wanted to have his own identity as a musician. And Danny says that the family is going to support him on his last night and they just want to be there as a family, and promises that nobody is going to make fun of him. And just then, Joey walks in, starts howling, and then just leaves.
Yeah, that was perfectly timed. But I mean, look, I'm not mad at Jesse for doing the impersonations. It makes sense, if anything, considering how much he loves Elvis. It makes a lot of sense. And he still gets to practice music and do music, and he's getting paid for it. It's much better than being an exterminator. So I mean, why not? Especially if they're going to pay you more than enough to be able to, do what you need to do with your money. Like, yeah, go for it. Don't be embarrassed by that. Joey tells jokes for a living. He's fine. He just had the most money he's ever had in his life, and he's about to be out of it again.
Yeah, I can understand grappling with it if you're a musician or a true creative and wanting to be a little bit more original, really wanting to do that your own thing. But he does love Elvis, and it is a fun activity for him, and it is kind of the best of both worlds. So you can kind of only want to also support Jesse in this.
Yeah, exactly.
In the next scene, we are at the Rock and Roll Heaven, and we see a Marilyn impersonator. And DJ says, check it out, a Madonna lookalike. And Danny says, no, honey, that's Marilyn Monroe. And DJ says, when did she rip off Madonna? And
oh my God.
I love an old school, hey, look at how young the kids are type of thing, Because I feel like even people around my age group don't even necessarily see Madonna as a Marilyn Monroe like wannabe, but that's kind of exactly what was going on there. And we also have our own Madonna wannabe in action right now. So it's kind of cool how we always have that kind of thing. And I think it was like a nice little blast in the past moment.
Humans are always inspired by humans. That's why they say that what is it? The truest form of flattery is imitation, right?
Yeah.
So it's essentially the same thing. I mean, even like as a writer, right? Most writers will tell you that the only way to really find your own style in writing is by imitating others, because in that you do slowly kind of find your own way. You start seeing how other writers write certain things, and then you kind of try that out, and then you may not like the way it words, so then you kind of play around with it for a bit. But eventually you do end up kind of creating your own, but you do so through imitation. I feel like there's probably a lot of things that work the exact same way.
Yeah, it's that's why, a lot of the time these things are evolutions, and you can still innovate when you're getting inspiration from others. And that's why I always want to inspire, people who are afraid of AI or whatever. It's like, yeah, the one thing it can't do is innovate. So maybe you should be inspired a little bit more to really push the envelope.
Exactly.
So Joey is loving the performance. And right after the Marilyn Monroe impersonator, Jesse comes out and does his huge Elvis performance. He does a split, which I think was really cool.
It was really good.
It was an awesome split. Older women are cutely fighting over some of the ribbons. And at one point, he opens up his cape, is what I'm going to call it. And there's a bird. The American flag comes out. It's a whole thing.
He killed the performance. He killed that performance. Completely killed it. It was amazing. Honestly, probably one of my favorite moments in this series so far is this one right here. Just Absolutely. This little chunk. It was so good.
So much fun. It's one of the things, and that's what I always say about like Full House, is that it's musical, but it is not a musical, which is where I think, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say this so flat out on the internet, but that's why I think Fuller House was just it didn't hit as hard, because there were certain things that weren't true to this type of, like, yes, there's a lot of music in Full House, obviously, but we are not narrating our actions. We're going to see a performance, and then we as the audience gets to see the performance as well. It's stuff like that.
I think that like there's a massive difference between a sequel having the heart of the original and the sequel having the bones of the original. Fuller House has the bones of the original, but it lacks the heart of it.
The family gets back and the girls do their own version of Elvis. It's a cute little moment. And Danny sends the girls to bed. And right as they exit, the boys go right back to going back and forth about this ball of money. Just then, Elvis walks in with Marilyn, and Marilyn is super extra, and she's still in character. Jesse says that he's been offered the gig for as long as he wants, and everybody's really happy for him. But he asks Marilyn what her experience has been like. Does pretending to be Marilyn ever get to her? And she says, "Pretending? I am Marilyn Monroe."
The accent was so funny, but she's delusional. She's done it way too long, and she probably gets mistaken for her a lot too. But if it's her primary job, and she says that she's Marilyn, now I'm just getting images of her at home dressed like Marilyn, cooking, cleaning. Like, what does a Marilyn Monroe, like, shower day look like?
Probably awesome.
Honestly, I actually want to know that. She had fantastic skin. I want to know what her skincare routine was.
I don't think we were looking at her skin. I'm pretty sure that was just a lot of makeup.
Oh, no. And I completely get that. It was definitely a lot of makeup. But she had very little texture, which tells me she had good skin.
Could also have been the blur from the 80s, but...
That's true. That's very true. Could have been a blur from the 80s. Could have been. Look, if it wasn't, she had fantastic skin. That's all I'm saying. That
She did
makeup
look
laid
great.
flat.
And all the guys were more into her until they realized how meta she exactly was. So
yeah, meta is the perfect way of describing that. She really is like an AI
method.
character.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you said.
Yeah, I've been saying meta, but I meant method.
She was kind of giving AI character to me.
She was weird. In the kitchen, Joey is trying to make a sandwich, and he gets a dirty knife out of the sink. And Danny then feels the need to demonstrate how a grown adult makes a sandwich. We paint the mayo and the mustard, and we ensure that we have an equal amount of ham and cheese in every bite. Joey says that Danny is the most predictable person. He's so paint by numbers that if anything falls out of place, Danny just can't handle it. All the while, he's able to say everything that Danny is saying as he's saying it. And Joey makes a small mess at the dining table to bother Danny. And it does bother him, even though Danny tries to hide it. And Danny says everything is just a joke to Joey. And Joey says, hey, you only go around once. Get all the smiles in you can. And this argument develops into a Pee Wee Herman thing for Joey just to really get at Danny and really dig at him. And they end up in Joey's room. And Danny says that they need to settle this the only way they know how. And that is with arm wrestling, which Joey knows he was going to say.
Can I just say, through that whole argument scene in the kitchen, the only thing I was concentrated on was the fact that nobody put away the mayo and mustard. They didn't even put the caps on it. Like, we're worried about bread that was purposely placed there, but the mayo behind you's going bad right now.
Yeah, they were all still there. That's insane.
Yeah.
What's up, Danny? It's not very in character of you.
I feel like we were concentrated on the wrong thing the entire time. I'm just like, they're arguing over bread that was put there, but like there's still mayo and mustard open back there on the counter. And Danny even left his knife on the counter as well, on one of the lids that were placed on the counter. We just left a whole mess over there.
There's also, I think, the remaining of the unopened sandwich.
Yes, exactly.
Or of the unfinished sandwich. Jeez. So the boys are arm wrestling, and as they wrestle, they bicker, and Jesse walks in and breaks it up, as Jesse is more important. He says he needs advice on whether or not he should take the job. Danny says that Jesse should take the job because he needs money for his demo tape. And Joey says that Joey says that the only reason to listen to Danny is if you lost a mitten when you were 4. Awesome burn.
Well, I mean, look, fair enough. He's remembering the exact day and time and what for and how much he was owed from 11 years ago. That's a very, very fair statement. He probably would remember exactly where he left it.
Joey says that he should take the job for fun. He saw him up there tonight. He saw how much Jesse enjoyed impersonating Elvis, and that's why he should take it. And both of the guys say that he should take it for fun. He should take it for money. And then Jesse comes to the conclusion that he should do it for both money and fun.
Exactly.
Decides he's going to take the job and leaves. Just then the violins begin.
Which is so weird. Can I just be on? It's such a weird transition how they did this, how we just kind of went from arguing to like literally over everything. And then I guess we help Jesse, but Jesse makes a joke on his way out about, what was it? He said, I don't know what I would do without you guys, but I'll start looking into it. And then all of a sudden we cue the violins and we're having a heart to heart. I'm just like, where's the heart to heart coming from?
And that is one of the things that it's just that magic sitcom wand that gets woven for everybody to just get the perspective that they need to. I do understand that this is coming after them helping out Joey. So it's them helping out Jesse. So it's one of those things where it's, hey, we partnered up and we make a good team, which is where Danny goes with this. But it does still kind of feel a little bit convenient.
It feels out of place. It felt like nothing was actually resolved. And somehow, because we told Jesse to do what he was probably going to do anyways, now we feel like we can work together. Probably, I don't know. This whole part here just confused me because I'm just like, I don't understand where this heart to heart's coming from. I don't understand what just happened there that made them be like, hey, let's reconcile. Now's the time to do the olive branch. Like it felt like a very weird transition. It didn't feel like it was meant to be there.
Correct. Yeah, it was just weird. The boys agree that they make a good team, and Danny says exactly how long they've been friends, and they reminisce on the good times and how they've actually been there for each other. And Danny, then brings up the whole being there for him and moving in when he needed him after Pam died. And, they just kind of share a moment where it's like, okay, this argument is stupid, and Joey gives him the money, and Danny does take the money, but he says that he's buying him a savings bond and a closet organizer. And the show wraps up.
See, I understand the savings bond because that's not something he has much control over, but he's not going to use that closet organizer.
I feel like if you get someone a closet organizer and you put it in their closet, they'd be forced to use it. But that would require you taking out all of the items in their closet and organizing it for them. And then later on, I guess they would have to just follow suit. But I don't know. I'm also one of those people. I'm just like a crazy organized mess. Like I know that shit's under shit. And if I need it, I'll just then lift up the shit that's above it so that I can retrieve it, but I'm not going to separate those things if they don't need to be. I don't know. I don't have that same paranoia.
See, I have kind of like the same thing happening, kind of like an organized chaos thing happening. But that's mainly just because of like the lack of space more so than anything else. Like in my perfect world, I would have the money to just buy all the little bits and bobs that I need to be able to organize things the way I want it. I feel like everything in the house needs a place, and when it has its place, it's always going to go back to its place. So I know where it's going to be at, and everything stays organized. Like that's how I would prefer it. But times are hard. I can't afford all the shelves and drawers and stuff that would be needed to create the space that I would prefer. So I have this kind of controlled chaos thing happening where, yeah, I know exactly where things are. It might be under a couple of things, but I know exactly where it is.
Okay, well, do we have... Well, I guess we just covered the one violins moment that there actually was. Are there any moments in the episode that gave us a full stop? Anything that did not age well?
Honestly, I can't even give, like, I know that that's the only time we actually got the violins. I just wasn't feeling that violin moment, so I can't give it my violin moment because I didn't feel it. It felt out of place.
Yeah, I mean, I liked them having the moment together where they talked about their friendship and squashed the drama, but it didn't feel as earned. It felt like there was just so much beef being generated throughout the episode that for all of a sudden it to be squashed. I guess that's sometimes how things have to go, but it's still a little bit too convenient.
It felt like they tried to throw way too many things into the episode, and because of that, some things had to suffer. Like they were very much trying to have both something happening with, Jesse as like a B plot, and then we had the argument between Danny and Joey as the A plot, like it was the primary. But when they shifted over to kind of push us through the B plot, it took up a lot of extra time. And don't get me wrong, like I love Jesse's performance, but it took up a lot of extra time. And so it felt like when they got back to the house, all of a sudden they had like 30 minutes before bed. We have to figure out how we're going to make them make up. And they kind of half-assed it, at least in my opinion. I didn't feel the feels. The makeup itself felt extremely out of place. It felt like kind of like what you said, like it wasn't earned at all. It just kind of felt like we're at the end of the episode. We have to wrap it up now. Like it felt like that in like while actually watching, like somebody was telling them they have to wrap it up. So do it now. Cause it didn't feel like it was meant to be there. The episode was extremely rushed towards the end, but they took their time through everything else.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that I could think of that necessarily aged badly. The only time that they actually aged themselves was with the Marilyn and Madonna joke. I mean, maybe we can give the full stop moment to when Danny was asking what's under the robe. Just because in any other circumstances, most times it's not like Jesse said, what's under a man's robe is his own business. That's very
Yeah,
much
maybe
true.
we can give
I
that more
agree
of
with
a
that.
pause
Yeah.
rather than a full stop. Maybe that's
Yeah,
just
we'll
like
give it a
pause.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll go with a pause instead of a full stop. Get the violins moment. I just don't think we have it here. Yeah, I don't think we have it here. There was nothing that put me in my feels. Nothing that what. Yeah, there was nothing there for me as far as the getting the violence moment. So I'm gonna pass on that for this episode.
I feel that. What about a dad like Danny moment? Did he put any parental practices that we want to talk about?
I will say, well, because we saw a completely different side of Danny here, but I'll say him telling Joey not to bring up any of the bullshit that they're, arguing about this episode during Jesse's show so they can just be supportive. I would say that would be kind of a dad like Danny thing. Not everybody has the ability of putting their feelings on the back burner so that somebody else can take center.
Yes, and he didn't want to fight in front of the girls. Like, I think, he was very aware of what was going on. He was like, let's not do this here.
But we'll talk about it later. Exactly.
So good. Any other final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Do you have a not in my house moment? I'm going to tell you right now, mine is already the leaving the mayonnaise and mustard on the counter while we argue over crumbs on the table. That wouldn't happen.
No, that I would say it would be more of just that Marilyn Monroe impersonator entering the house.
Okay.
Not in my house. No. Oh, you know what? Honestly, I would not allow, because the way that we saw Joey take that knife out the sink and just wipe it on his pants, and then I am not letting you do that. I don't care what I have to do to intervene, but that is disgusting, and it's just not happening in any space that I am in, whether I own the place or not. As long as it's not somebody else's house, which I guess is the only place where there would be a sink. But no.
No, I get that. I get that. Oh, you also reminded me that was actually one of the scenes that made me feel like this episode was probably supposed to go like way earlier, or should have at least come earlier in the season than it did, because he stood in the kitchen like he didn't know where the knives were. He's like, knives. Like he looked around like he genuinely did not know where the knives were yet. But we know that up to this point, he's extremely involved with the girls. He makes them breakfast every day. He cleans the dishes. He, once a week takes on all the neighborhood kids. Like we know that he's like deep into parenting at this point. So the fact that he doesn't know where the silverware drawer is tells me this episode should have come like before 10 at least.
I agree that this plot line should have come earlier, but because he already has his basement bedroom, at that point he should definitely know where everything is. So they probably should have put this like you said, like before he gets the bedroom, before things are settled in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But also they can fix that just by not having him. Maybe he was doing that to make Danny annoyed. Maybe, I don't know, but doing that calculated thing.
If they wanted to do that, it probably would have been funnier if he had went over and opened up the silverware drawer, then made eye contact with Danny, closed it, and then went for the dirty knife. That would have been funnier.
Yeah. Or grabbed like a spoon. I do it with a spoon. All right.
Exactly. Like do it with a spoon, do it with a fork. If you're really trying to irritate somebody, it's like taking the bite out of the middle of the taco instead of the edge of it. Like that kind of stuff will annoy a lot of people. And Danny seems like the type it would have annoyed, but like he didn't know where the knives were.
Yeah. A little too much there.
Yeah. But it feels like, again, one of those things where the writers will do things either for the plot or for the joke or for, for one specific reason. It felt like it was done for the joke.
Yeah. Other than that, I think it was a funny episode. I'll give it that.
Definitely
funny. And that is king
funny
in a writer's room. So y'all did that. We laughed. Yes. We had a great performance. And yeah, that's not a bad episode. Whatever. What we got like a B? Like,
I'll give them an A because this episode holds one of my favorite scenes, which is Jesse doing his impersonation. Just that whole little scene itself made this whole episode for me. So I'll give it a solid A, honestly, because it does hold one of my favorite moments. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Please remember to like, subscribe, follow all the things, and stay tuned till the next episode. Until then, this is Dax.
And M, reminding you
to put away your mayo and mustard when you're making a sandwich.
Thank you.